Hi, everybody. My name is Karen Schultz-Battistoni, and thank you for joining us for Leadership Live, presented by the UMass Amherst Alumni Association. We're live streaming today on Facebook, and we're also streaming through Zoom, so you can answer and ask questions, through either method to communicate with us. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, on the back side of things, helping to get your questions to our speaker is Emily Baskin. I am here. I am Karen Schultz-Battistoni, and then we have Aaron Valencic. So the three of us will be answering some of the questions you might have about technology and helping to get your questions to Evren. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now I'm going to introduce our speaker, Evren Gunduz. Evren is a 2004 graduate of the University of Massachusetts Amherst. He's an award-winning public educator of 10 years, a mental strength and athletic coach, and a pioneering authority in positive leadership and empowerment and education for teens. Evren received his master's in education at Harvard's Graduate School of Education with concentrations in leadership, team studies, and human development. He earned his Bachelor's of Science in Geological and Earth Sciences with a minor in music from UMass Amherst. He has been recognized for his contributions to the lives of teens with the Golden Foundation Excellence in Education Award, the Harvard Intellectual Faculty Contribution Award, the Hopkinton Community Hero Award, and the Tri-Valley League Soccer Coach of the Year Award. In addition to being the CEO of Enjoy Life Education, Evren pursues his passion of athletics through head coaching Dover Sherborne's women's soccer and through competing in ultra marathons upwards of 100 miles. Hi, Evren.
How's it going, Karen? It's a pleasure to be here today.
It's great to be here with you as well. We thank you for joining us virtually and helping to make the world a little closer. Our goal of Leadership Live today was to talk with you a little bit about self-empowered leadership. This session is being recorded, so it will be available to people after the session, just as an FYI. So to start off, Evren, what I'm going to do is play the video of some of the snippets from our conversation about self-empowered leadership. And as that video is playing, people can go ahead and ask questions in the chat box on Facebook or in the Zoom chat. And then we'll go to Q&A. So we'll have about 20 minutes for a conversation with you. And we're looking forward to getting all of your questions answered and giving some time for Evren to talk with you as well. All right, so let's get the video up.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Evren Gunduz. I am a proud alumnus of UMass Amherst. I graduated in 2004. I got a degree in Earth Systems Science and a minor in music. Today, I'm the executive director and co-founder of Enjoy Life Education. Absolutely. In fact, it all started for me at UMass Amherst. I was in the marching band for all 4 years at UMass, and our director at the time, George M. Parks, was, in my mind, the greatest of the empowered leaders, just someone that emulated all these ideas about becoming the best version of yourself possible. The empowered leader is really somebody that leads through actions more than leads through words. We think of this person as the most person. And the way we describe it to our teens is the empowered leader is the person that is most on time. They are the hardest worker. They're the most passionate. They have the most positive attitude. They're the person that treats people with the most kindness and compassion. I think a lot of people, when they get a leadership title or they're put in a leadership position, think that they have to have the best ideas or have the loudest voice in order to be a good leader and be able to tell people what to do and delegate well. And we believe that no one's really going to follow someone and really respect the ideas they have and the things they're trying to get them to do unless they think that that person is doing them first. The benefits for the team following the self-empowered leader are that they feel safe. They feel like the person that's leading them has a great command of their life, and therefore has the capacity to help them lead their lives. They have confidence in who they are and their abilities. The self-empowered leader can lead with a lot of compassion. And I think it's a really pure, genuine way to lead. And I think both parties feel more comfortable with that leadership and more willing to take risks on both sides of both the team and the leader. The two ways you can practice being a self-empowered leader in your community and in your relationships with others is by focusing on the controllables that you have in life, which are your attitude and your actions in the present moment. And the other thing is investing in your passions, not going after things based on what other people are saying you should be doing, but investing in things that you are passionate about that make you come alive every day. I think the first step to becoming a self-empowered leader is reflecting on your gratitudes and your cans in life. And journaling, meditation, driving in silence is all three great ways to reflect on gratitudes. And when you start writing down 1 to 3 gratitudes every day of your life, you start to focus on what you do have for resources versus what you don't. UMass Amherst provided me the space and the resources to really lock into the person I wanted to be. Above all else, a self-empowered leader should really latch on to the concept that what you put in is what you get out. Life is finite and our time is finite. And the self-empowered leader invests in their passions and the things that make them come alive, and they intentionally build in time every day to work hard to get a lot out of the life they lead.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Evren, for joining me for that conversation about self-empowered leadership. The goal of today is really to have a bite-sized leadership lesson with live Q&A so we can really bridge that gap of geography and bring your expertise as a leader and your experiences in leadership to the greater UMass community and the world. So to start off today, we've got a question asking, do you have any advice on how to become a self-empowered leader for someone who's maybe a little bit more reserved or maybe feels like they often don't put themselves in a leadership role? So how might they take some steps towards doing that if they're a little bit more reserved?
That's a great question, Karen. And first of all, thank you all for having me and being a part of this session today. It's of Leadership Live. It's an honor to be here and represent UMass Amherst and talk about leadership with everyone. So to dive right into it, I think that the first step in leadership is really understanding that you can't lead others until you can first lead yourself. And it really doesn't matter if your personality is reserved or if it's outgoing and or somewhere in between on that spectrum. What's really most important about leadership is leading by example and being able to show people that you're willing to do whatever it is that you want them to do, first and foremost by you doing it yourself and taking that leadership role by just digging in and doing it. So I like to think of leadership in terms of if you want to be able to give people a push, you first have to be willing to pull. And for someone that may be a little bit more reserved or a little scared to jump in and start actually leading with their voice and just pushing people in all new and innovative ways to get things done and to get motivated, I think the very first thing they can do is just dive in themselves. An example that I always like to give is I'm fortunate to be the head coach of the varsity women's soccer team at Dover Sherborne High School. And before I got to that position, there was always a culture where the freshmen would carry the water and the seniors kind of earn their way up to being like, I'm a senior, I'm a captain, whatever it may be for that older title. And they're like, now I don't have to do the water carrying anymore. And now we have a system where once you become that senior, once you become that leader on the team, now your first job is to carry the water. And all the seniors and captains take the water in the first week of filling it up, taking it out to the field, making sure it gets there. And then they serve through their actions for the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors, and the team that they're ultimately leading. And I think it sets everybody up to look at those seniors and those leaders and say, man, if they're doing it, now that's a great thing, because when they ask me to do it, I've seen them do it first. And now it empowers those seniors and those leaders to go to the freshmen, go to the sophomores and the juniors and say, hey, we're going to set up a schedule. We'd love for you to take the water next week. And I just love that metaphor for life in general as a leader. You know, you carry the water first. It's not something that you need to be outgoing on. It doesn't mean that you have to have the biggest personality. It just means that you're leading by example and you're empowering yourself to just do the work that you want others to do. And now it gives you the confidence to have that voice. And after you've pulled, you now have the ability to give that little push.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was very great. That was detailed as well. Thank you. We're getting quite a few questions, so hopefully we can get through all of them.
I will work to be more succinct.
No worries. And we'll also give contact details at the end to be able to follow up with Evren and continue the conversation with him. So don't feel this is your only chance to ask him some questions. So the next question that we received is, how do you keep your team satisfied without being a people pleaser? So how do you do that balance?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with just getting your team to really connect on the role that you empower them with, and being very honest and open with them. I think it's really the first step that a lot of people mistakenly take in leadership is that the role as a leader is to make people happy. And I don't think that's correct. I think the role of a leader is not to make people happy, it's to make people good and good at what they do, and make sure that they are empowered to do a great job with the skills and potential they have. And I think it starts with just getting them to understand their role and how valuable they are in that role. So that's one-on-one conversations with your team, with your coworkers, with whoever it may be about, hey, this is what I really need from you. This is the type of work that we think you excel at, and it's why you're in this position, and I'm here to support you. And I think it starts there instead of starting with just a lot of excessive praise and trying to make them feel good about themselves. It's more about making them feel worthy in the role that they have.
Okay. No, that's really helpful, because I think that balance can often be very difficult, especially in a leadership position where everybody's eyes are on you and they're watching your actions as well.
Absolutely.
So we have another question here. Would you recommend different leadership styles for different ages and experiences? So I don't know if you want to give this in the context of self-empowered leadership. Would this kind of adjust a little bit based on who that person is? Does self-empowered leadership maybe work for everybody, or maybe it looks a little different?
I think the basic premise looks very universal for any role. It's all about leading by example. Being the self-empowered leader is also, and I'm going to throw in a little bit of this too right now, Karen, it's about leading your own life and being an example for people to follow. So if you want other people to show up with a positive attitude, you've got to be willing to show up with a positive attitude first. If you want people to focus on solutions rather than point out problems, you got to be able to focus on solutions first and not be a problem pointer outer. And I think if you want people to really be passionate about the work that they do, both in and out of your team, then you have to show that passion first. And so I think the self-empowered leader is really someone that's taken charge of who they are and invested in the fact that they are very passionate about what they're doing. They have a clear vision of the life that they're trying to live, the work they're trying to get done. And I think that comes across in how they interact with people. So I think the basic foundation is universal across the board, no matter the age group or the group you're working with. I personally work with high school teenagers all the way up to adults in the corporate world. I work with college athletic teams and middle schoolers even. And at the end of the day, people remember how you make them feel more than anything. And I think it's just showing that passion and showing up with that positive attitude can really be empowering for others, and showing up with an attitude that you're willing to do the work first that you're asking other people to do. And I think, it comes back to that. I'm just going to pull first before I push. I do think that there's some slight differences that you can achieve. And when you're working with someone that's maybe more experienced as they get older and they've gone through a lot more opportunities, I think that you can connect with them more on the experiences that they've had and get to know them on more of a personal level first and where they come from. And I think when you're connecting with someone younger, I think you start with your personal story and where you're at, and be that example for them to follow.
Okay. So in business situations, leadership is often given to you. It's not something that you assume through self-empowerment. So in this case, you're moved out from a set of equals into a power position. How do you affect self-empowerment without appearing weak?
Yeah, I think it comes from a place of humility first. And I think that there's a big difference between weakness and uncertainty and humility. And I would even put some confidence in there too. I think that humility and confidence can go hand in hand. And it's not confidence that you know all the answers, but it's confidence that you are willing to do whatever it takes to succeed and find the answers to allow everyone else to succeed. And I think going into those positions, the very first thing that I always offer to people for advice is get to know who you're working with and let them know what your leadership user manual looks like. And I think everyone's got their leadership user manual, the way they like to lead and be led. And I think it comes down to a couple key things that you can give to the team in terms of your transparency. And it all comes back to transparency. I think trust in people is earned through transparency. If people know that you're telling the truth and that you're really honest about who you are, they're going to raise their level of trust for you. So there's some questions that I always have people ask to their leaders, or the leaders to give answers to their new team. And it comes down to, hey, these are the strengths that I bring to the team. These are the things that I really think that I do well and can offer to this team. Here's some weaknesses that I bring to the team that I'm always going to look for support on from all of you, because none of us are perfect. These are some of my turn-ons for the team. Like when a team is working well, this is what really gets me fired up. And here are some turn-offs that I find in a team of when things aren't working. These things really get me down and I think bog down the productivity. And I think just going through these 4 questions, and then the final question is getting to know the hopes and dreams of the people that you're leading. I think when people know that you really care about them and they know how much you care, then they're going to care more about you as a leader. And the quote that we always give, the start thought, is people don't care how much you know until you know how much you care, until they know how much you care. And I think just getting to know your team and asking them, hey, what are your hopes and dreams for your role on this team? I think it's just that transparency that lets them know that you care about the person they are and the success they're going to have in their role.
Okay, we've got quite a few more questions coming in. The next one is about any recommendations on leading a team when it's a virtual team. You're not all in person in the same place.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is a lot of great individual connection. So a virtual team, we do a lot of meetings at Enjoy Life Education virtually in formats just like this, where we've got video conferences and it's a lot of people trying to talk at once. There's long email chains that go down the list with a lot of people involved in those email chains. And that's all great for making decisions and collaborating. But at the end of the day, it's all about the one-on-one connection. So my biggest advice is get on the phone with people and make sure that you've got an every day or a couple times a week, a set amount of time that you're checking in with all of your individual people one-on-one as much as you can on a weekly basis. And just having those conversations, I think, really opens up those lines of transparency and that connectedness.
Okay. How do you deal with that vulnerability of stepping out and being a leader? How do you manage that? Thoughts?
I think the vulnerability is where the power comes from. I think the empowerment is all about that transparency. We think of vulnerability as like showing your true skin, your true colors, and getting out of your comfort zone, and you're now putting yourself in a position where there's the fear of being judged or that fear of other people's opinions. And I think that actually is not something that you should fear, but it's something that should build courage in you. And I think vulnerability and courage are synonymous. And it was the great Brene Brown that talks about this. And I think that the most important thing is realizing that if you've done enough work on your own life, you've got your own goals, you've got your own vision, you're reflecting on your own strengths as well as your weaknesses, and understanding that you'll never know it all as a leader, you'll never know it all as a person, but that you are comfortable, that you've been striving to get to become the best version of yourself possible. I think that then you have the empowerment to become vulnerable and showcase yourself to the world, because it's about being confident in who you are. And I think that leadership starts with yourself. It all comes back to, you can't lead others until you can first lead yourself. So embrace that vulnerability without the fear of being judged. And you do that through just building yourself up behind the scenes to start with.
Okay. Another question, did you always have the confidence to take on a leadership role? And if not, how did you kind of come into developing that confidence?
Oh, heck no. I think I'm still developing that confidence. I think it's a lifelong journey. Honestly, I'll give a quick anecdote that sums it up for me about how I have learned to become empowered as a leader. I was on my high school basketball team. I was absolutely the worst player on the team. I think I made it out of sympathy because I had just tried out so many years in a row and got cut so many years that finally my senior year, my coaches were like, you've earned a spot. And I wasn't getting game minutes. I was a bench player, but I loved working hard. I loved giving the team everything I could give them. I was the first one to hand out water on the bench or throw a towel to one of my teammates to help wipe off their sweat. I was sprinting hard in practice. And I remember my coach came up to me at the end of one of the practices. He actually announced in front of everyone, he's like, it was a few weeks into the season, he's like, man, you know the player that's making the biggest difference for everyone on this team? It's Evren. He's our practice player of the day. And I'll never forget that moment, because it was just a moment where I instantly became confident in being in a leadership position and making an impact on the team. And it didn't mean that I had a title. I was not a captain. I was not a starter. But being a leader has nothing to do with titles. It all has to do with action. And so I really believe that just going after the work and diving in head first, and like I talked about earlier, like always be willing to pull before you push, I think goes a long way to developing the confidence to be a leader.
Great. I think we're going to now transition from questions just to a few final pieces, just so that we can fit everything in. For a lot of you, you may have said, these are some great things that Evren is saying, and what else is he doing, and how can I connect with him to learn more about what he's doing? This shows you with Enjoy Life Education where the website is. That's the name of the nonprofit where he runs the Leadership Academy. And that's also his email address. So feel free to get connected. Your UMass community is big, and it's also collaborative. So really reach out and have those conversations and connect with one another. So we encourage you to do that. The career resources offered through the Alumni Association are also quite vast and varied, just as our group of alumni that we have are. So we have an online mentoring platform called Alumni Advisors, where you can give and receive virtual help. We have a career counselor program where you can connect with somebody virtually and have a conversation about your specific concerns. And then we also have webinars and sessions like this. And then we also have other tools in our online portal. So if you go to umassalumni.com, you can access all of those resources, and you can reach out to us if you have questions. I want to just turn it back to Evren to see if you have any final thoughts on things and what we can think about as we leave our session today talking about self-empowered leadership. What are some final thoughts or things that people can ponder on, resources, activities they can participate in?
Thank you so much, Karen, for hosting me today. I think that the self-empowered leader is just a human being that has become the best version of themselves possible. And I think leadership, like we talked about a little bit earlier, is all about actions. It has nothing to do with titles or position. And I think the self-empowered leader, to get there, it's really about taking charge of your life and taking charge of your opportunities, and be willing to put in the nitty gritty work, diving in head first, the analogy with the soccer team, carry the water first, whatever that metaphorical water is for you in your position. And whether you have a leadership title or not, you have the opportunity to be a leader every day of your life to yourself and the people that you interact with. And I think building yourself up as that best version of yourself possible is one way, and one of the best ways to just get people to follow your lead. And I think that at the end of the day, if people look at you and they say, man, I want to be a little bit more like that person, whether it's in your attitude, whether it's in your work ethic, whether it's in the goals and visions that you have, or your day-to-day just actions, I think that you've done an amazing job as a leader. These are all the principles that we teach our teens that attend our leadership academy every summer. And it's universal stuff that can be accessed by young adults, middle age, no matter what your age or title or position, you can be a self-empowered leader in your life every day.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us, Evren, and for being willing to talk with us about leadership today. We do want to let everybody know that you can connect with UMass at umassalumni.com, alumni@umass.edu. Also connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and connect with us in person. So watch what we're doing, and also update your information with us. You can receive email notifications about great events like this. So thank you so much, Evren, for joining us today, for answering all of the questions, no matter what they were. All of these were coming from the audience. So you truly were on the spot. And thank you for being willing to do that with us today. Thank you, everybody.
Always happy to connect with UMass alum. Thank you, Karen.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. And we wish you all the best with your leadership journey. Go UMass.
Let's go, everybody. Thank you.